Okay, so yes, this topic is cause and effect. Nowadays, children's mentality is being affected greatly by technology. So, in what ways has it been changing children's minds? That's in what ways, or what has been causing that? And do the pros outweigh the cons? Again, pros, positives, cons, negatives. So what are the effects of this? Outweigh means which one is stronger. So then in our grammar and guides book, that is a cause and effect essay structure, remember? We want to use that for structure. And well, we're going to be starting with our introduction. So just remember that I did add a line here, the question of how topic has been a highly contested one recently. I've been preferring to use this one. This sentence here, I've been writing. I think it sounds better to me. Okay. So our topic sentence, our general ideas, and then a general opinion. That's what we're doing to start. Okay, so the question of how technological progress has been affecting children's mentality has been a highly contested one recently. The question of how, that's our structure there. Technological process has been affected. We use present perfect continuous here because we are saying it's still continuing from when this began until now. So it's still continuing, okay? It's not over. The goal is to make children like robots. Okay. A common opinion is that become well, I think this is good. I think I would agree that technology should help children learn faster and have greater opportunities in the future. That's the goal. And technology can do that. It can. And it has done that, for sure. Okay? This is just one side of the story, though. All right, well, from another perspective, some child psychologists posit that all right, I'll just say here, well, from another perspective, some child psychologists posit that, which is our structure sentence. So modern progress could be impacting child cognition in unexpected adverse ways. Adverse just means negative. So I'm being very general here, not really saying anything, but just the more general that we can be in the introduction is good. Okay? Child cognition, same as mentality, okay? So, now I'm going to get here to our thesis sentence. So that's our structure. So firstly, I should say the effect, something about an effect. So for me,
or my point of view,
yeah, from my point of view,
of
modern advanced, do you have something to say, Michelle?
yeah, can you add of between point and view, please? From my point of
Oh, okay. Modern advancement.
my point of, you add point before. Yeah, thank you.
Modern advancement has been dramatically rewiring mental capacity. Okay, So, despite the controversy, from my point of view, modern advancement has been dramatically, I feel it's dramatic, rewiring, transforming children's mental capacity and this poses both pros and cons equal. So I said something about in here, so a general effect, well, it's rewiring, okay? General effect. The mental capacity, ability. And this poses pros and cons equally. Do we have any questions about this introduction?
No.
No, thanks.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to go over here, and according to our guide, we should get to our first paragraph of how or why this happens. So we have the opening. We need to connect to the topic directly, okay? Saying that we're going to discuss this topic, and then we're going to give a first reason, and then we're going to exemplify or explain the connection. Let's do that first. So to begin with, there are several crucial ways in which technology transforming children's cognitive abilities. So, technology has been transforming children's cognitive abilities. Is cognition. It's the same way as saying it. So, that's what we're going to talk about in this paragraph. Mm-hmm. So, now we should get to the first one. First and most significantly, well, let's see. From what we talked about, I think the one that's very important is about the way that we process the information. So, First and most significantly, due to the rapid pace at which our modern brains have been adapting faster and faster to information processing. Okay, there we go. So, first and most significantly, due to the rapid pace at which technology has been expanding, the technology is expanding at a rapid pace, fast. So what? What is going on? So our modern brains have been adapting faster and faster to information processing. So look, I'm using a lot of present perfect continuous here. This is a good present perfect continuous lesson. Now, notice how this idea doesn't say anything about children's mentality, right? Right?
Yeah.
So that means that it's an idea, but now I need to explain how that idea connects to the topic. So, owing to this reality, there has been an evolutionary adaptation in the growth
Evolutionary growth.
in the brain of modern children who have been born with sorry, but this sentence can only be explained at a level 9, I guess. I couldn't find an easier way to explain it. But let's read it. Owing to this reality. So because of this way of us processing information fast. So what's happened? According to me, there has been an evolutionary growth in the brain of modern children, especially the offspring of millennials. Offspring meaning the children. What about them? Who have been born with a higher capacity to process information much more rapidly than their predecessors, meaning the children before them. Mm-hmm. Or we could say here, than the previous generations. The same meaning as the previous the predecessors, the previous generation is same. Same meaning. You could say that one there. So because we are processing information faster, we the adults, than our offspring, it makes sense that they are born with this higher capacity to process information, okay? Well, I think also this has been going on forever. It's not just now. Yeah, it's evolution, and always the modern generation is always, or can process information much faster than the previous generation. Makes us, well, that's what some people actually believe, that this will continue to a state of kind of like what we imagine aliens to be. They can speak to, well, they can speak to each other telepathically. That's crazy to imagine, but all right. So there we go. That's the first idea. So now we should get to the second idea. Mm-hmm. Then we will explain and exemplify, and then we will close this paragraph. Okay. So, of similar influence has been the way in which modern progress the way in which the information age has provided youngsters with easy access to almost all information available. I would say all information. I don't know. Everything's on there. So a similar influence has been structure, the way in which the information age has provided youngsters with easy access to almost all information available. Yeah. So then I'm going to explain this on account of this. What does it mean? Children have been,
Because of that,
yep.
influence,
Influenced. I want to say here their minds have been brought. Well, maturing. Let's change this to here instead of mature topics. Let's say social topics. So, on account of this, children have been exposed to a wide range of social such as, it's not very clear there what social topics could be: crime, politics, and let's put sexuality. And as a result, their minds have been maturing much faster than previous generations. Yeah. Oh, on account of this. Good. Now we want to do, so we said here, children have easy access to more information. And because of that, they're exposed to these range of adult topics, really. And as a result, their minds are maturing faster. So, to close, therefore, the way in which so, therefore, the way in which technological advancement has been evolving child cognition is more than evident. Okay. So in this paragraph, we looked at the causes or the changes, the way in which it has been increasing or changing. The ways in which, how. Now, when we get to our next paragraph, we need to go to the effects. We're going to have our opening, our first consequence, or we explain. First effect, right? Usually we do the positive first. And that's what I'm going to do here. So, having considered, I think that's the sentence we have here, right? Yeah. Mm. Mhm. Appears to implicate both So, having considered this technological development, it appears to implicate both positive and negative consequences toward child cognitive growth. Okay, so we said positive and negative, which is pros and cons. It's the same. Okay, we were more specific. Child cognitive growth. On the positive side, it is undeniable that the modern generation should so the modern generation should be born with or should come biologically equipped with the mental capacities which will yield its growth and prosperity. So should come biologically equipped. They should have that capacity which will provide it rapid development and prosperity, positive growth. Any questions?
Do you think that that change will be in the biology way too? It will appear even there?
Oh, it's biological. We're talking about children being born.
Yeah,
right?
that's why I'm asking.
And so it's biological. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So for this reason, make it a little bit clearer here. Um, do I need to explain something here? So, to So for this reason, okay, children being able to quickly understand and use the latest technological tools, such as smartphones and computers, should be an appropriate evolutionary adaptation. Okay?
Yes.
So this is a good change. All right. Any questions about that?
No.
Thanks, Michelin.
Welcome.
On the other, okay, so going back, sorry, onto our guide. So we already have that one there. So we're going to get to the negative side now. Remember that we're using a pro and con here because it's always more academic if you give pros and cons. Doesn't mean that you can't give just pros or just cons, just positives or negatives. You can. But usually, again, for always agree, disagree, positive, negative, one side, another side, it's always better to be argumentative because this shows your academic level. Okay, so that's why I always write on the negative side here. Then we're going to exemplify and then we're going to close. On the negative side, however, we should not ignore that childhood should be a time of innocence and should be a time of innocence. Using the computer makes me be more, reduces my spelling capacity, okay?
Yeah.
I don't even want to think about it. I just put whatever and change it. When we were teaching in class on the board, I always needed to think about spelling. But something simple like innocence here, I was like, what is it? And I just put whatever and then I saw it. And then I spell checked it. Same thing is happening with children. That childhood should be a time of innocence and and let's say playful innocence. Immature enjoyment and blissful happiness. So, innocence, immature pleasure, let's put here, small enjoyment, same thing. And blissful happiness, blissful, kind of like you just ignore. So, on the negative side, we should not ignore that. Childhood should be a time okay?
Yeah.
Should be like this. On account of this, the fact that children are growing up with rampant exposure to the adult world much more quickly is taking away their childhood. And at the same time, having increasing their chances developing that's because the adult world is full of psychological disorders. No. How can we say this? From a younger age. There we go. Mood disorders. Let's put mood disorders in there. So, on account of this, so because of this, the fact that children are growing up with rampant means severe, strong, much exposure to the adult world much more quickly. Is taking away their childhood and at the same time increasing their chances of developing psychological problems from a younger age, such as mood disorders. I'm just looking at this sentence here, and it's taking away their childhood and at the same time increasing. I was trying to understand the formation here, but so yeah, it's the connection is with here. I don't think that we need this. Well, at the same time, we do need it.
That same time.
So is taking away their childhood and is increasing. That's the part there. Okay. So is taking away their childhood, one, and increasing their chances of developing. Okay?
At the same time.
So, we were saying here that this is negative, of course. Right?
Yeah. Mood disorder.
So now we're going to get to our closing here. Consequently, it is without a doubt that the impact of technology on the development Disadvantages. So consequently, it is without a doubt that the impact of technology on children's mental processes, mental processing, and thinking is seen as advantageous and disadvantageous. Okay. All right, so in this paragraph, we looked at the pros and cons, okay? Giving one pro and explaining it and giving one con and explaining it should be sufficient. Okay?
Okay.
Now we're going to get to our conclusion. We're going to give our to conclude parts, relate back to the topic, and then we need to emphasize our opinion. Right, Andrew?
Yep.
This is where he shines. I love Andrew's conclusions. You know what they are?
No.
Oh.
Nothing.
One.
Just blank space. To conclude, period. To conclude. All right. In evolutionary terms, our survival is governed by adapting to environmental changes and the survival of the fittest. So it's always been this way. In evolutionary terms, meaning evolution and the changes that goes on in our lives. So our survival is governed by, so controlled by, adapting to our environmental changes and the survival of the fittest. Put the prosperity
And this.
of the fittest. So always the fittest will grow and they will continue. Okay?
Okay.
So this is true. Now, above all though, I would like to emphasize that the influence of technology on our offspring's cognitive capacities. So the influence of technology on our offspring's cognitive capacities. So should not lead them astray, but rather enable them to should not be an obstacle to their childhood. But rather enable them to fully adapt and develop into and develop into fit and able adults. Okay, so the influence of technology on our offspring's cognitive capacities should not be, so I want to emphasize that it should not be an obstacle. Should not be an obstacle to their childhood, okay? Should not block, but rather enable them, make them to fully adapt and develop into fit and able adults. I want to put fit here as in the survival of the fittest. So fit and able adults.
Early adult.
What was that?
I say an early adult.
Okay. Okay.
And that's the end.
And that's the end, yeah.
How many?
468 words.
Short today.
117? 117?
No, 400.
We don't need to
Yeah.
count the words, we need to get the ideas.
230.
So I wrote this in here in 1 hour, but in the real, and I was stopping, I was pausing, I was talking, I was commenting, so really I wrote it in 30 minutes. Well, yeah, so in the real exam, this is more than enough time. Yeah. So, very good. So let's remember that this topic was how does technology affect children's mentality? And do the pros outweigh the cons? So that again we said was a cause and effect essay. There we go, cause and effect. So we need to introduce, we need to give the effects, the causes or the ways in which, and we needed to give the effects, and we needed to conclude. That's what we did. So let's recap. All right, go ahead. Carolina, you can start us off, okay?
Okay. The question of how technological progress has been affecting children's mentality has been a highly contested one recently.
Okay, Mabel?
A common opinion is that technology should help children learn faster and have greater opportunities in the future.
Good. Now we get to the other side. Michelin?
While from another perspective, some shared technologies posit that modern progress could be impacting child connection in unexpected adverse ways.
Mm-hmm. And now we close with our thesis where we need to say something about the effect, the cause and the effect. Okay, go ahead. Andrew?
Despite the controversy, from my point of view, modern advancement has been dramatically rewiring children's mental capacity, and this poses both pros and cons.
Good. All right. So now we get to our first paragraph where we're going to discuss the causes, okay? What causes or in what ways has this been going on? How has technology been changing child cognition? All right, so go ahead, Carolina.
Begin with, there are several crucial ways in which technology has been transforming children's cognitive abilities.
Okay, now the first one, Mabel.
First and most significantly, due to the rapid pace and which technology has been expanding, our modern brains have been adapting faster and faster to information processing.
And what does this mean for children, Michelin?
Owing to this reality, there has been an evolutionary growth in the brain of modern children, especially the offspring of millennials who have been born with a higher capacity to process information much more rapidly than their predecessors.
Okay, well, now let's connect this to another idea here, Andrew. So easy access, what does this mean for children's minds, Carolina?
Sorry, I was.
On account.
On account of this, children have been exposed to a wide range of social topics from a younger age, such as crime, politics, and sexuality. And as a result, their minds have been maturing much faster than previous generations.
Maturing.
Maturing.
Okay, yes, that's true. And now we close this paragraph, Mabel.
Therefore, the way in which technological advancement has been involving child cognition is more than evident.
Okay, so we talked there about the causes. Now we're going to get to the effects. Okay, go ahead, Micheline.
Having considered this technological development, it appears to implicate both positive and negative consequences to our child cognitive growth.
Okay, now we're going to start with the positive side here first, Andrew.
The positive side is undeniable. Modern generation development and prosperity.
So we should become ready for that. What does that mean for children's minds, Carolina?
For this reason, children's being able to quickly understand and use the latest technological tools, such as smartphones and computers, should be seen as an appropriate evolutionary adaptation.
It should be positive. Okay. What about the negative here, Mabel?
On the negative side, however, we should not ignore that childhood should be a time of innocence, immature enjoyment, and blissful happiness.
Okay, what does this mean for the way that technology has been affecting children, Micheline?
On account
Yep.
On account of this, the fact that children are growing up with rampant exposure to the adult world much more quickly is taking away their childhood and at the same time increasing their chance of developing psychological problems from a younger age, such as mood disorders.
Consequently, if thought about that the impact of technology on children's mental processing and thinking could be seen as equally advantageous and disadvantageous.
Okay, so now we get to the conclusion, and in the conclusion, so first I said something about, well, this topic seemed to be about changing our minds, which is really talking about evolution in some ways. Carolina?
To conclude, in evolutionary terms, our survival is governed by adapting to environmental change and the prosperity of the fittest.
That's the way it works. If we don't change or adapt, then we are not going to survive. So what does this mean again so in the last, I'm going to emphasize something about children and the way that they are adapting to this evolutionary change from technology. Mabel?
Above all, though, I would like to emphasize that the influence of technology on our offspring's cognitive capacities should not be an obstacle to their childhood, but rather enable them to fully adapt and develop into fit and able adults.
Strong, very strong, Ceci. Sometimes it's about the topic, I have to say.